Welcome to the Something More podcast with me, Jamie Haxby, Steve Karma and Josh Fox.
You know, in such a crazy time of change and uncertainty, where all of our values have been flipped upside down, we're going to explore what it means to be truly human.
We are looking at what it means to live fully human with identity, security and purpose.
And we're going to do that by interviewing loads of different people about their stories, the connection that they have with God.
To find out, in their own life, how have they found something more in relation to understanding and knowing who God is.
Hey guys, I'm Steve Karma from the Something More podcast. Great to be with you tonight. It's going to be a little bit different from what it normally is. We've got 3 guests. We normally just have one, and they are coming from different kind of faith perspectives and different backgrounds. And we're going to be talking about race, and we're going to be talking about immigration, and we are going to be talking about asylum. Now, I've got to say, guys, what we try and do is to be objective and to deal with the different opinions and stuff like that. But I kind of think we are all in the same sort of area. However, we're asking you guys to be as open and honest as you can. In the comments section, we will try and address your comments and your questions, but we do ask that you would be respectful. Let me just run through a couple of other notices ever so quickly. The Something More podcast normally happens every Monday night at 7:30, but this is the last one in which we are doing it weekly. We are going to be moving to the end, I can't even say it, the last Monday of every month. So guys, make sure you look out for that. Can I ask you as well, guys, if you could share this post, that would be absolutely awesome. It helps with this thing called the algorithms, whatever those things might be. It also helps people to kind of see this and to engage. I also want to just let you know, guys, in the description bar within our Facebook page, within this stream, we've got the contact details for Rebecca and for Salman, and I'm going to bring them on and I'm going to introduce them to you. So let me bring them on. We will also be joined by Assam. So guys, because some of them will know you, some of them won't. I don't think anybody except for myself, even myself, I don't know. I only met Assam literally 5 minutes ago. I don't think anybody knows all of you. So we'll start with you, Rebecca. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Joy Novell. I am a qualified social worker. My current role is the Refugee Community Development Officer for Lancaster County Council. But I've been working in the area of refugee support for about 5 years now. And before that, I was doing day-to-day average social work. So that's what I do.
Rebecca, can I ask I'm getting some feedback here. Rebecca, can I ask where your surname's from? Because I always call you Novell, which probably isn't as dignified. But I thought you were a bit proletariat, blue collar. So where's your surname from?
Novell's Italian, but we're adopted into the Novell family, so it's not our real name. Our real surname's Ferguson, and the story's pretty gruesome. So yeah, we're pretty working class, but we really embrace the Novell surname because they're a good family to us. So
no, that's actually cool. That's absolutely cool. I kind of like my surname. It's a bit rock and roll. So those who don't know, Karma, that's kind of cool. So Salman, tell us who you are. Tell us what you do and where you're from.
Okay, Salman from Birmingham. I practice immigration law with a local charity based in the Midlands. I also work with a campaigning organisation called Migrant Voice. And also I'm just about still active in the labour movement. I'm a shop steward for Unison. So that's me.
Yeah. We've been on a couple of protests together. I think the first protest I went in, we were in a taxi going away from the protest, and the taxi we were in were bricked. So we might cover that story, but there you go. Assam, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
My name is Isam Sannofi, and I came from Syria as a Syrian refugee. I'm Syrian refugee, and I came to the UK in 2016.
Brilliant. And how are you finding British weather?
Amazing. Amazing like that. Believe me, I don't know what I have to do. Sometimes I have to go like this one, those jacket as well. So Yes, I have to expect everything.
Yeah. I mean, what is the temperature range in Syria? What are we talking about? Do you measure in Celsius or Fahrenheit?
uh, Sciences, but I mean, it's about seasons in Syria. What we have 4 seasons. We don't have every 2 hours different. Some 1 hour now cloudy and 1 hour raining, and after that windy like that. No, we have summer, winter like that. So that's it. So this is the difference. But here, every 2 hours, you have to expect everything. So you will see 4 seasons by 2 hours.
No, that's the grim north. I can see a laughing face emoji. Somebody else shares your plight, having to live up in the north with the weather. But hey, there you go. So, Rebecca, why don't you tell us a little bit about the organization you work for? What exactly is it you do?
It's a good question. So, I'm very fortunate since 2018. I've actually been working for.
Rebecca, let me stop you. You're also a mother of twins.
Yeah, 3-year-old twins. It's nothing compared to you, Steve, with 3 now, though. I feel like I watch Abby's stories and I'm like, I've got it easy compared to 3 boys.
Yeah, I've got three boys and they're all free to a good home. So
I'll have all of them.
no, they're great because my wife's watching, so I better shut up. Rebecca, sorry, tell me about who you work for and what exactly you do.
So yeah, since 2018, I've worked for Lancaster County Council, who have coordinated the Lancashire effort for the resettlement programme, which is, I don't know if people remember in 2015, David Cameron saying, we're going to do our bit after Alan Kurdi's death and we're going to take 20,000 Syrians. It's often called the Syrian Resettlement Scheme, but it's actually the Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme and the Vulnerable Children's Resettlement Scheme. So it's a combination of schemes where they take the most vulnerable families and they're literally flown directly from refugee camps in surrounding countries, namely Lebanon and Jordan, and flown to participating countries. So Germany's taken part, France has taken part, and we've taken part. And then we hopefully support those families for a period of 5 years to integrate into the community. So it's a really amazing program and we're really committed to it, and there was a lot of money behind it. It's ended now and we have met our commitment, and it's transforming into a global resettlement scheme. So we're going to see a wider variety of countries be part of that scheme, but it's on pause at the moment. We've not had anything since March. And obviously with all the conversations that are happening, who knows when it's going to start again, and who knows what it's going to look like funding wise and all these other things. So it's very much up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant. Salman, tell me a little bit about the organisation you work for. How long you've been with them? What exactly is it that they do?
Well, I've been for Brushstrokes. I've been volunteering for and working for them for I think over 10 years now. Same with Migrant Voice. Basically, what I do is very much like what a lawyer or a solicitor does. So, you know, I'll go to court, I'll look at people's cases, go through them, talk about the merits, talk about the strengths and the weaknesses. And the other side of it is campaigning. So, say, for example, if we try to turn the individual into the collective. So, say, for example, we've got a local campaign going on about we are all Gurmit Kaur. She's an elderly Sikh woman who's been here for over 10 years. She works in the temple. And if you speak to the Sikh community, in a sense, you know, working in a food bank is like the new black these days. Sikhs were doing it since the beginning of time. You know, it's called langar, and they, you know, give food to people on the streets. They have an open cafe, which is open 24 hours. She's been working there for 10 years. And our campaign has pretty much been, why can't we have more Gurmit Kaurs in the UK? You know, what a great person this is, and why shouldn't she stay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brilliant. And Assam, so let me ask you. So you've come into this country for how many years did you say?
2006.
2006.
16. 4 years.
Sorry. The audio isn't brilliant.
Yeah, 2016. I came here 29 of September 2016.
Yeah, and what have you been doing? Are you studying? Are you working? I'm not sure how it works. Yeah.
No, I'm studying. I'm still studying now until now. So since I came here, I came from Syria. I came from Lebanon. Before that, I was a refugee in Lebanon, and after that, I came through the United Nations to the UK from Lebanon.
Yep. And what are you studying?
Now I'm studying level 2 English. I've done level 3 IT. I've done level 2 math. I've done level 2 community interpreter. So yeah, I've got some good certificates. Yes.
And what were you doing in Syria work-wise before you?
Before I could talk before 2011 exactly, because in 2011 everything changed in Syria. So the revolution started, the war started, everything. So I will tell you about myself. Before 2011, I was a student French literature. French literature, yes, it was my final year, and at the same time, I was running my own business as a graphic designer.
Right, well.
Yes, so I'm a graphic designer basically in my job, and I was studying French literature. And in 2011, our revolution started in Syria. I don't know if you want me to talk about that now or later. Or
so yeah, I mean, you know, we might as well, guys, as well as you're watching, stick in any questions or comments in the comment section. But a lot of us only know bits and pieces. Let me just try and mute. Is that Rebecca? It's always Rebecca. I'll bring you in when we bring you in. A lot of us only know little bits and pieces about Syria from things that we've caught on the news. Tell us what happened in 2011. Why is the situation as bad as it is? Because some people were saying, look, hey, we just need to kind of get him ready and then send him back. So it's like, what happened in 2011?
Okay, so and briefly, what I'd like to say, Syria is an amazing country. It's a rich country. Some people, they don't know about Syria anything. Just they know Syria is. They know about the war. They know about the war. Basically, the war. No, Syria is rich country. The people in Syria very, very simple and very clever as well. So and everybody has job, and lots of people they went to school, college, university, everything. So in 2011, or we talk about 40 years before, our problem in Syria is about the freedom. It's about the human rights. So in Syria we have a dictator, the president Bashar al-Assad. He's dictator, and before him, his father, he was the president, and he came to Syria, and he became president by using the army. I don't know how.
Right. So a military dictatorship.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in 2011, the dictator Bashar al-Assad, he became a president in 2000 without election, and you couldn't election anyway. You couldn't say anything. You couldn't talk about political things, and if there were no human rights, there were no freedom. So if we talk about 40 years before that one, that means the people they want to say stop, please, we need freedom, we need human rights, we need to stop killing people, to stop anything. So in 2011, our revolution started. How the revolution started in Syria? The revolution started from city called Daraa, just because some children in school, they wrote on the wall of the school, they wrote, it's your turn, doctor. It's because before 2011, the revolution happened in Egypt, in Libya.
Yeah.
These children might be heard from their parents, from news about revolution, what happened like that. So these children, about 12, 13 years like that, just they wrote one sentence, it's your turn, doctor. What happened? As I said, there is a dictator. They came and they arrested them. I'm talking about children. They arrested them, and their family, we don't know where they go. And of course, they put them in prison and put tyranny and killed some of them as well. So in that time, and one of them, if you want to, when I'm talking about everything you could find on YouTube as a video. So everything I'm trying to say, so please, you could see that on YouTube, searching about that, it's as evidence. So what happened, and they killed some children, and of course, we could say the flame start the revolution from Daraa, and after that, my city called Homs, and when we heard about that, of course, we didn't accept that, and as well, we are talking about 100,000 people. They filled the streets with protests, and I were there, and as well, you could find a lot of videos about that protests on YouTube. Yes, and that's why we wanted human rights and freedom.
Right. So, and then you fled the country. When did you flee the country? So, like, how long did it take you to go on the process from Syria to the UK?
The UK? Oh no. We have a lot. I will try to talk briefly as I can, Rebecca. You know.
No, because I want to bring the other guys in as well.
Yeah. So when that time started, of course, the regime faced the people by violence, and he killed some people, and so that means we tried to protect us. And for me, I used my skills as a graphic designer to print banners called freedom against the regime. And you know, the people like me who works in media or things like that, that means I am very dangerous for this regime, because this regime tried always to deliver, no, I'm not killing my people, I'm killing the terrorists, I'm killing like that. So no, we are talking about 1,000 of videos on YouTube. Okay, so yes, and I stayed there 2 years like that, and eventually I injured, and we were under siege. I injured, and I couldn't leave my country homes around 3-4 months like that. And of course, there were no hospital, there were no food and supplement, medication, things like that. And I made before that as well program to deliver the people's voice. Yes, and after that, after 4 months, it was very difficult to leave from my country illegally from Homs to Lebanon, from Homs to Lebanon. And after that, the Red Cross support me firstly when I went to Lebanon, and I start my journey about operations. So this takes many years. I left Syria, I remember April 2013, and I stayed, and I came to the UK 29 of September 2016.
Right. Wow.
So during these 3 years, I had about 12 operations, and some of them success, some of them not. But eventually I came to the UK for treatment 2016 through the United Nations.
Okay.
With my family as well, yeah, and with my parents. I'm talking with my brother as well. Yeah.
So, Salman, is that normal for it to take so long for people to come from war-torn countries over to the UK for the asylum process?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what routes you take. You know, some people can get out immediately. Some people take years. I mean, some people, maybe they might get to Turkey, they get arrested in Turkey, get tortured in Turkey, then sent back to, Syria or Iraq, and then they have to make that journey again. So it's a really, really perilous journey. And, in many ways, it's like a science fiction movie, some of these stories. It's an incredible journey for people. They're really brave. They're very heroic. Because, ultimately what they're trying to do is they're trying to get to a safe place. And sometimes even if they can't get their family there, they might get their family somewhere else, but they try to come somewhere like the UK and then call their family over, as soon as they get their status. So these guys, I don't say this lightly, are real, heroes. They're fighting for their families. They've been fighting for justice back home. pretty humbling when I meet so many of the people who've gone through this.
Yeah, I've got a number of friends who, particularly Iran. Some of you guys, Farhad, if you're watching, sending some love out there, bro. But some people would say, look, so like in the UK, it's not our problem. Like, what kind of obligation do we have? In fact, let me start further back. What kind of reception do they get? Some of them. When they reach the UK, maybe give me some positive examples, maybe give me some negative ones, and then I'll bring Rebecca in.
It's mixed. I would say ordinary people are decent. I mean, that's why a lot of times this government have made a policy where when you claim asylum, you're not allowed to work. So I think in the top of society, refugees and asylum seekers aren't treated very well. And they're kind of, I mean, we're both ex-military. And I remember when I was stationed, wherever I was stationed, we were separated from the local community. And there was always that tension there. We didn't like the local community because we were told that they were feckless, lazy, this, that, and the other, and we were special. And then the local community were told we're all a bunch of drunken troublemakers. So there was often a lot of animosity there. But when you meet people, when, you know, it's the human condition is if you put your hand out and say hello to someone, your response is to put your hand out and say, oh, hello back, not to say, what are you doing here? Go back to where you came from. And a lot of the people who do say go back to where you came from are people who've never met a refugee. You know, it's mainly on social media. Because if they did, I guarantee they're going to be all right. And I guarantee they've probably met a few and they've been polite as pie to them because it's been their GP or their consultant, you know, and they're like, oh, I've got back. Thank you so much for fixing my arm. Oh, I can't thank you. I bought you a box of chocolates. What they don't realise is like 20 minutes later, they're on Facebook saying, drown them. I mean, that's the paradox and the irony of it all.
Davey Allen says this. He says, people in danger and seeking asylum should be welcomed into this country with open arms and not treated in such a horrible way. Rebecca, agree or disagree, and why?
Oh, agree, obviously. Yeah, I just agree with what Salman said there about it's how you meet people the first time as well. If it's just sprung upon you and you don't know what's happening, like we're seeing with these videos at the moment where certain people of a political persuasion are going into asylum seeker hotels and filming them, and they're not having a meaningful interaction. They're just going there with an agenda. But if you were to sit people down and introduce them, those same people, and talk about certain things in detail, you'd have a different response, because I agree, people are generally decent, and they're scared of what they don't know. And then when you have those interactions and be like, look, this is a human. Like, I give an example, we held a Syrian lunch in Lancaster a while ago, and this man came in and was talking to my partner, who is an asylum seeker. He didn't know that, and he was going, oh, I don't mind Syrians, it's those single men coming over from Africa who rape our women, not knowing that my partner is one of those men from Africa, and feeling comfortable talking to him and having a good chat. And I was just thinking, there has to be more. We as a community have to do better at having meaningful interactions and showing the commonality between us, because I don't think people are doing it because they necessarily hate brown people or necessarily hate Muslims. It's because they don't have exposure. And it's just so important as a society, because we're going to see more and more and more of it. It's never going to go down. And with global warming, we're going to see a refugee crisis on a scale we've never imagined before. So we have to get better at getting to know new people who don't look or sound like us.
So some people would say, look, isn't our obligation to sort it out at source rather than... You think it is? Yeah.
100%. Yeah, like, I'm sure, not to speak for you, Essam didn't want to leave Syria. He had to be dragged by his friends out of Syria bleeding. Like, you wanted to die there, right? Like, these people don't want to leave their homes. My partner didn't want to leave his home. He hates it. And so when we look at immigration policy, we have to look at foreign policy. Like, what involvement, what can we do to stop these conflicts? But also, a lot of these people are coming from countries because of lack of wealth, lack of opportunity. And we have to have a complete reimagining of how we distribute world wealth. It cannot carry on like this. And a lot of policies are purposefully suffocating those countries and those opportunities for young men. And we also have to start looking at climate change. I know it's such a everyone's talking about it, but it's true. Like, we're already seeing our first climate refugees, and if India goes underwater, we have a problem like we've never seen before. Exactly, but it's possible. It's possible. Like, Louisiana's sinking, people are having to move. So if we don't tackle these issues, foreign policy, climate change, capitalism, wealth distribution, nothing's going to change. And you can moan about it all day long, but people don't want to leave their homes. I'm sure many of us don't want to leave the UK, but it might happen one day. That's out of our control.
So Dan Cronin is saying exposure, but also what is communicated by sections of the media. How much does the media play into the stereotypes we have of the other, regardless of who that is? I don't know who wants to pick up that question. Salman?
Sam, do you want to? I mean, I'm happy to jump in, but if you want to, shall I start and then you can follow me? Yeah. Right. So I think the media are just reflecting what the government are doing, and the media are looking at trying to be controversial. And I always say this: if a group of Somali women had a food stall and gave out free food to the local community outside Asda, it wouldn't make the news. But if they went into Asda and nicked some chocolate cakes, it would be all over the news. Yeah. So, you know, it's very much like the news chases these like super negative stories, you know, and then all of a sudden, if, you know, one Pakistani guy does this, the whole of the Pakistani community are under the kind of, you know, the microscope and things like that. And, you know, look, there's good and bad in all communities. And then, you know, and then the thing which really annoys me in a way is it plays down the crime. So in a sense, you know, it's horrific, you know, child molestation, paedophilia, grooming. I get really upset and angry about it. Yet people seem to get more upset about the nationality of the criminal than the actual crime. And then this whole kind of, oh, deport them afterwards, it almost like lends itself to the question, so it's all right to rape a Pakistani girl, just don't rape anybody here. You know, I think rape is horrible, no matter where it happens, and it needs to be dealt with. You know, that perpetrator needs, you know, to be, you know, taught not to do it anymore. Do you know what? You know, that's for another time. But just to move the problem over there, you're not dealing with. I mean, as Rebecca was saying, we live in the globe. We live in a global community, not a national one. So in a sense, we should all be crying if a girl is abused here, and we should be just as much crying if a girl is being abused in Pakistan, India, you know, in all these countries. And the media kind of just, it's almost like it puts English people at a higher plane than everybody else in the world. Like, we see a plane crash, 5 Britons died. I'm upset because 300 people died. I wasn't particularly bothered what colour passport they had when the plane went into the sea. And I think that's something the media is responsible for, and it needs to address it.
Yeah, well, so some people would say, and this is an argument which you hear quite often. It's, well, can the country afford to have like an open doors kind of immigration policy? One thing that people point out incorrectly, Rebecca said to me, and I thought it was a great point, about people coming in from other countries who are taking our benefits as well as taking our jobs, which you actually can't do both at the same time. But people would say, what about the economic argument? Doesn't it make economical bad sense to open up the borders, Salman?
We're having an aging population. I mean, one of my jobs, I work in a residential children's home. They're absolutely desperate for workers. They're desperate for care workers. They're desperate for NHS workers. And there's a lot of essential workers who are not allowed to work, you know, and who want to come to the UK. And immigration is self-regulating. If you look at the Polish community, when the jobs were drying up, they all went back to Poland. Why? Because they could move freely. So the irony is, if you want to get rid of people, give them a British passport. And what they'll do is they'll move around the globe more freely. Don't give them a British passport. They're more likely to cling on and stay in the UK when they really don't want to. I mean, that's the paradox of it all. But, you know, I'm sure the other guys want to come in on this as well. I don't want to dominate the discussion.
Yeah, no problem. So we've got a few comments as well, guys. Just bear with me on the comments. I will get to some of these questions. I'm just encouraging you guys to have a quick look at them as well, because there might be some which you particularly want to talk about. But Assam or Rebecca, do you want to jump in and give your comment on the media and upon the economic argument?
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you. So I'm going to go before. Yeah, I agree. I think that we see it very clearly in the Shamima Begum, the way that story's been portrayed, as if there's an option to revoke her citizenship because she has brown skin, and her being groomed at 14 is completely different from the girls in Rosslyn being groomed, who I work with. It's not, she's a young age, she's lost 3 children, she's been through so much trauma. Of course, we don't have to like what she did. She's made some really stupid decisions and she needs some help through that. But to leave her in a camp to rot as if she's not our problem, as if she's not British, was horrendous. And it added to that racism of what is British. We can't really be British if you're brown, which obviously, Steve, you can talk to more than I can. But I think we're getting into that language around rugged nationalism, which we saw before World War II, when there was a massive economic downturn and everyone started clinging onto their nationality like that's going to save us, and it's absolutely not. So it does scare me a lot, and I think it's an easy out. In terms of economic, we say, can we afford to? Can we afford not to as humans? Because
Rebecca, that is a comment which has just been brought in by Dave Allen. Can we afford not to have an open immigration policy? Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
What will it cost us? Like, what will it cost us to see children wash up on our shores dead? Like, I think that is a greater cost than anything we have to adjust to. And I know Angela Merkel was slated when she said, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be sacrifices. But what's the alternative? Because the world is not going to suddenly, oh, we don't want to. We can't afford it. Refugees will stop happening. No. So I think there's bigger costs than the economic side of it for me.
Mm-hmm. So Dan Cronin, shout out to Dan. The way the media portrays migrants and asylum seekers taking on jobs they don't need to come, raping our women, etc., needs to tell a new narrative that reflects the big picture of why people are coming over, but the primary focus being that these are humans just like you and me. Can I ask Assam then? So how have you found coming into? I mean, had you ever been to an English-speaking country before? Have you ever been to England before? How did you find coming over? What was the response of the locals? Oh, sorry, have I muted you? That's because we're having some audio issues. Sorry about that.
Okay. So please, just I'd love to say that most of the refugees, we don't want to leave our country because we have everything. We had everything. I'm sorry to say we had. I'm very happy to say we have until now. But honestly, we had everything. We had a job. We had our homes. Our home. We had everything we wanted. If you want to study at university, so you could do everything. You don't want. Now, if you talk about someone who came here 40 years old or 50 years old or 20 or that means you have to start. It's very hard, very difficult to put this effort to understand the new system, to understand, to learn a new language, to try to find yourself, because you lose yourself. By the way, you'll feel alone. You'll feel alone, even if around you some friends, but you feel yourself alone when you walk in the town, and when you try to talk with someone but you couldn't deliver your message correctly, so you'll feel sad. It's very hard, very difficult for us. It's very difficult to leave everything behind yourself. It's not easy. So please, we didn't, honestly, I don't came here to take your job, no, but everything was forced. It was not my option. It was not my option. So and please try to understand how it's difficult to me to start to study again from everything, from the beginning, to learn a new language. So everything, it was hard. We don't want to leave our country. We don't came here to take your job. But when we came here, that means we have to look for reality. We have to put more effort than British people, because we have to try to find, as I said, job. We have to learn everything. So we have to understand the new system, because I grew up 30 years with different system. So I speak another language, so a different culture as well. So please, it's we don't come here to take your job. No, but why we try, and we have to try to find a job. We have to work, because We try to be part from this community. When we be part from this community, that we will be part from this community to make this economic better as well. We don't want to stay just to take benefit, things like that. Why we take benefit when we came here? Because we couldn't live without that. So that's it. We take this benefit, but we don't want to stay in this benefit. We have to find a job. We don't want to take your job. Just we have to be part from this community. So please try to understand. If you put from your effort, example 70%, we put it 500% just to arrive for your 70%.
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather came over to this country, and he very much was of the belief that it was important that we contribute, and that Britain would be better because of allowing people from the subcontinent of India into the country, and I think it's important that we understand that it's when the different cultures and peoples come together, that's when we begin to grow and we begin to learn and we begin to understand. Some people might be asking the cultural arguments. So even within the nature of what I do, I'm the leader of a church, Hope Church Lancaster. Big shout out to my guys. We had a family and they fled the genocide in Burundi. So we've got people coming over which have some complex needs. Is the country prepared and able to help people who have fled, war-torn areas or areas of extreme deprivation and poverty? Rebecca, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, no, we're not. And I'm one of the people who does the job. So I'm not giving the biggest indictment of myself, but I don't think we're best equipped to even help the trauma that British-born people experience through child abuse, homelessness. I just don't think we've got it quite right. We don't invest enough in it. We don't do enough trauma-based practice, and trauma it's just ubiquitous in everything. It affects every area of your life, and if you don't have that training, it's difficult. And I don't think we expected the level of complexity that we saw. So not only, as Sam said, you don't have the language, you don't have the culture, but then you have children with disabilities, mothers raising children as a refugee. Like, it's hard enough being a new mother, but then to have had to put a baby on that boat. There's just so many intricacies that we're learning as we go along, and I think we will get better. But I think in general, our approach to care, our approach to trauma for any citizen, anybody in Britain, is lacking at the moment. There's great work happening and there's great individuals, but on a systemic level, I don't think we're as good as we could be.
Well, Geraldine has raised a point here as well. Again, this is back to the financial issue. It says, ask any refugee if they would like to go back home, and I'm sure the answer would be yes, if it was safe. This includes my own mother, who has been a refugee for 33 years. Oh my goodness, that's unbelievable. I'm surprised that you don't get British citizenship after that. But anyway, no one comes here for £37 a week, trust me. So tell me a little bit, and any of you guys can pick this up, maybe Salman or Assam. What actually are people entitled to? Like what happens when people come over to this country? Do they get 5-star hotels and gold-plated benefits, Salman or Assam?
Well, I mean, the thing about the hotels at the moment is it's only supposed to be it's because of COVID, because hotels are empty. Serco, which is a private company, have taken over. Like they run the kind of things, yeah. And the refugees and the asylum seekers are not like, sitting there with the napkins in, having caviar and things like that. They're living in the hollow shell of the hotel, and I've seen the food. It's pretty, it's like literally chips and sandwiches, and there's not much tuna in it, mainly mayonnaise, and they're getting that for 6 months to 9 months, yeah. And they're all going a bit stir crazy, and they're saying, look, we don't want to be in these hotels. We want to be housed somewhere else. We want the right to work. None of that's been given to them. They're just stuck in this hotel indefinitely, and that's not the fault of the refugees. And the real people who are making the money are not the asylum seekers, but it's actually Serco and these private companies. You know, in many ways, if we had more public buildings, public housing, and refugees and asylum seekers were in these public houses, it would mean the money comes back to the public purse. But as it is at the moment, it's all just going to Serco. So that's the situation, you know, and it's really disempowering people because I mean, look, again, I'm going to refer back to the military. A lot of ex-squaddies struggle to live in civilian life because they're not taught how to cook. They're not taught how to pay rent. They're not taught how to, you know, we're kind of looked after in a nice way as a soldier, but at the same time, we're not taught about civilian life. And that's why you see a lot of soldiers end up homeless. And, you know, the same could be said about, you know, there's real parallels there with a lot of these guys in hotels. And so it's not good. And I always say this, look, put a mainstream, if somebody claims asylum, make sure they're getting the medical support, the counselling, because they could have been tortured, abused, and all the rest of it, yeah? But throw them, you know, if they want to work, let them work. It makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to a government who wants to divide and rule us. And to me, that's the situation. Because
So I'm sorry for interrupting, but let me just go on to that point. I don't want to get too political but it does seem that the Home Office makes it difficult for people. So again, a number of people who were in our church, it was the last church, we seem to have a lot more to do with asylum seekers within our last church, it being in Birmingham. But the Home Office seemed to move people around all the time. Like they couldn't put down roots.
Oh, I think that's, you know, like I said, we talked about this earlier in this discussion. If I say to most of your viewers, look, Abdul Rashid, you've never met him before, but they're going to put him on a plane on Tuesday. They're going to fly him out. I've hired a minibus. Let's get to the airport and have a mini protest to try to get him back. Most people would probably be a bit sympathetic and say, that's sad. I need to find out a little bit more about it, all the rest of it. But I said, you know, Abdul, we work with him. Yeah, you know, the one, you know, he makes tea, or, you know, he's the one who does admin, or he's on payroll. They're going to deport him tomorrow. Everybody would book the day off. Everybody would be going bananas because we know Abdul. Do you know what I mean? So in a sense, if people are living separately, I can say anything I like about that person. But if I say about one of my workmates saying, oh, you know, John, he's an idiot, people are going to say, what are you talking about? John's really nice. What's the matter with you? But if I say, John, you never met him before, I met him yesterday, he's a real piece of work, that one, everyone's going to go, is he really? Oh, I believe you. So, you know, let's connect people. And when people are connected, the world's a better place.
Yeah. I mean, Sam, how have you found it within the UK? Do you feel sometimes, and I'm not putting words into your mouth, I mean, look, please feel free to speak any way you want. Do you feel that it's made particularly hard for you, or are you quite happy with the process as someone who's on the other side of it?
I don't know, but I think this question or this answer, it's different from person into person because some people they have health conditions. Some people they didn't arrive for routine NHS, things like that. So you will find this person is not happy because it takes years and years and years. Some people they come here, they don't have this health condition. That means they have opportunity to start to integration into this community quicker a little bit. So I don't think that my answer it will be fair. It will be fair because my case, not anyone.
No.
So, but yeah,
that's really good. Let me ask you guys a final question. And again, we can start with anyone. We will work our way round. Just a reminder, guys, that the Something More podcast will not be on next week. We will be on at the end of the month. We are going to be doing an interview with Andy Alms, who's the leader of the Portsmouth Family Church and a network of churches. He's a great guy. And we're going to be interviewing him. A reminder as well, we're moving from a weekly schedule to a monthly schedule. So it's going to be taking place on a Monday night, on the last Monday of the month at 7:30. And a reminder as well that the details for Rebecca and Salman, Rebecca works in Lancaster with refugees, if you're tuning in late, and Salman works in Birmingham for a charity called Brushstrokes, with refugees and asylum seekers. Their details are in the Facebook description bar. So guys, that's been my kind of like plug thing. Just to give you time to think about the closing question. What can the average guy on the street do to help people who are immigrants or asylum seekers? Who wants to start us off?
I'll start off, yeah. It's very simple. Say hello, say you fancy going for a coffee. There's a cafe down the road, let's go. That it's literally as simple as that.
Yeah, just get to know people, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep, brilliant. Rebecca?
I would say educate yourself, because even people who take an interest in this area who are sympathetic don't always know what's going on. So like my mum's obviously very interested because it's my job, but then when I tell her things, she's like, what? What? Nobody told me that. So I think read behind the headlines. When they say people coming here illegally, it's so unfair, because it's not illegal. It's not illegal to claim refugee status. So don't believe the headlines, read about stuff, and also get to know that, you know, the resettlement program, the way ASAM came to England, is completely different to asylum route, the people we see on the back of lorries and boats, and it's a whole different way of living. And take an interest in this hostile environment of the Home Office, take an interest in what you're being told, because, you know, these hostile policies, the injustices we see, the deportations, the incorrect deportations and detention happens because we're not paying attention. So the more you learn, the more you pay attention, the less they'll get away with things in our name that aren't right. And we don't want a Windrush scandal. We don't want to look back and go, oh my gosh, how did that happen? We need to be like, it's not happening on our watch, because we're here and we're paying attention. So read and learn and take an interest.
Yeah. This feedback is hard work. Sam, what would your advice be? You can do it one of two ways. You can do it. What would your advice be to people who have come over here seeking asylum, or what would your advice be to ordinary people who live in the UK and they have just got a heart to help asylum seekers? What would you say?
I'd love to say that for British people, you have to be proud. You have to be proud of your country, because when I came here, it's honestly, it's like small world inside the whole world. Small world inside. So this is amazing. I found that if I were British, so it's very nice when I came here. Example, if we talk about restaurants, if you can in one street, you'll find Chinese restaurant, you'll find Indian restaurant, you'll find different. And so I felt like that, like I saw all the world inside this country. So you have to be proud about that. You have to look for that. It's nice to find all these people from different culture, from different countries. So I saw that very, very nice. I'm not talking that because I'm a refugee, no, but honestly, if I were from this country, I will look for that like this way. So yeah. And about how you were coming from here, just tell me hello.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I mean,
as someone said, say hello, everything will be fine.
That's good. If you see him, make sure you say hello. I've got to say, one of the things which make this country a good country, I'm not saying it's perfect, there's loads of places where we drop the ball, is the fact that it is a multicultural, or at least more multicultural than some country, and actually that we are a country that does grant asylum. Could we be doing better? You bet we could. But you know, what is enshrined in our laws, and I think amongst the British people, is that we are a people who actually are considerate of people coming in from other countries, and we don't always live out, you know, that day to day, particularly within our news media. Journalists, if you're watching, but that's what this country is about, or at least that's what it should be about. So guys, we're going to leave it there. Final comment, I think. I just want to clarify. Here's a question. Just want to clarify. She is a British citizen now. Okay, your mother. But you never truly feel British because home is home. Okay, well, do you know what, Geraldine? That is really, really good to know, because I was like, that is an absolute travesty. 33 years in this country and she's not been granted British status. That's a joke. But I'm glad that she has been granted British status. And you're right. There's a little part of you which is always going to be back in your home place. So we'll leave it there. Take care, guys. Thank you ever so much for joining me tonight.